You found us! Welcome to Author Quick Draw. This is your permission slip to take a quick break from the hecticness of your newsfeed and hang out with me, Annie Bucknell, freelance feature writer and women's fiction author, as I get to spend some time playing Pictionary, giving away prizes and having fun with some of Australia's best loved authors. Now, we know that your favourite authors can tell incredible page-turning stories, but can they draw? We're about to find out live now in 3, 2, 1, go. Rachael Johns, welcome. Hello. Joining us all the way from
Hi, Annie.
It's so good to have you here. Rachel's joining us from Perth. I'm talking to you from Brisbane. Give us a comment and let us know where you guys are from. And if you can hear us, hit the heart for us just to let us know that we're all, live and everything's going good. Rachel, thank you so much for being our first brave guest.
Oh, I've got my pencil ready and my paper. I'm a bit worried.
Excellent. I'm so excited about this. So what, I guess the age-old question is, can you draw? We know you can write.
Well, I used to be able to draw. I actually did a lot of drawing when I was young, but I've definitely lost that skill. I think probably like writing, it's a skill that you need to keep up doing, like do it constantly or at least do it frequently, and I haven't really drawn anything since a friend's bucks party it was a drawing bucks party not bucks party. What's the women do? I can't even remember. Hens night.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, she had a drawing hens party where we had to draw a nude life model, which my painting was terrible. So this is the first time since then I've drawn anything.
So it's like the real life Bachelorette. I think they had a scene there where they did some nude life drawing too. Well, look, this should be a lot easier than that, and we're going to get the audience to play along. Yeah. So what we're going to do is get you to draw your favourite movie. So if you can try and draw something that will give away the title of the movie, and I'm going to ask you some questions and make it kind of hard for you to actually draw and talk at the same time, which I think would be fun.
I'm worried about.
Yeah.
So do I start now?
You can start now, and at the end I'll get you to kind of hold it up, and the first person to comment correctly and guess will win a copy of Rachel's new book, which is Something to Talk About. I've just finished reading that. It is absolutely brilliant. It's the second in the Rose Hill Rural Romance series, which I've been practicing saying in a go. It's just wonderful.
Isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Yours are actually the first rural romance that I've read, and I think I found a new favourite genre. I absolutely adore it. It's just such good escapism. Yeah. So you've put me on a new glut, so thank you for that. Something to Talk About actually covers Tab and Ferg's story. So they just have the most adorable love story, and it's just really tugs at the heartstrings. What was it that you liked most about writing their relationship?
Definitely the banter between them. Sometimes, you're writing a book and the characters immediately become alive. Other times it takes a little longer. And I think because their very first meeting, they kind of get off on the wrong foot. He insults her. She tries to do a good deed, but it doesn't kind of work out the way she meant it to. And they kind of just, it's not your meet. Well, it's a meet cute if we're talking about, romances and stuff, because that's when they meet. But it's not your, everything's going wonderful and this is, love at first sight meet. So it was kind of more like hate at first sight. Well, not hate, maybe that's too much, but, and so just then the banter between them sort of, they had a lot of sexual chemistry. And, sometimes that's easy to write, other times not so much. They gave me issues with that because I felt there was a lot of chemistry, but they still wouldn't jump into bed together. But so they were frustrating to write. But at the same time, it took a while. But at the same time, I just loved whenever they were together on the page. Sort of the sparks flew, and that was the fun part about writing those two.
They definitely had a lot of chemistry. It was really steamy. It was good to read. It was kind of an enemies to lovers, but as you said, the hate part wasn't as intense. They did move to those nice gooey feelings. Yeah.
It actually the one thing. Sorry, I was going to say when you say enemies to lovers, I should say that when I first thought about writing this book, because it was a romance, I was thinking about tropes and kind of story hooks. And I always thought it was going to be a fake relationship story rather than the enemies to lovers. But things kind of have their own, like, you know, once you start writing, the characters kind of take over, well, they do for me, and then they have other ideas. You want them to do something and it's not quite going to work for you for them.
Which is funny because you say that you're a plotter. So are you a plotter, but then, you know, you've got a plan until they come to life?
I'm not a plotter at all.
You're not?
No. I think a little bit about characters beforehand. I know, you know, you kind of premise. I like it if I know what's going to happen at the end, but I don't write an outline. I'm definitely not a plotter. I wish I was.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? It works for you. So if it's not broken, don't fix it, I'd say. One thing that I really enjoyed about Tabitha's character actually is that she, you know, she's a diverse voice. So Tabitha is an amputee, so she's disabled. Can you tell me a little bit more about the inspiration behind Tab's character and how you went into doing the research and making sure that she was a sensitive and authentic representation of a disabled heroine?
Sure. Well, she was inspired by a friend of mine. Used to be my boss. Her name's Lorraine, and she worked in the library where I worked in Coburg many years ago. And she was an amputee, and I was just always, everyone I think was amazed. Or I should say she is an amputee, and she is amazing. She's still alive. She just can do everything that anyone can do with two hands, often better. She can knit. She can cover books, like in the library, you know how hard it is to cover books with contact and things like this. And you know, from the moment I met Lorraine, I didn't know why she'd lost her arm. She never wore a prosthetic. She was very, you know, like seemingly comfortable with her disability and didn't let it stop her do anything. So she was just always very, very inspiring to me. And I think I didn't actually think about writing her until I wrote the first book in this kind of series, which is Talk of the Town. And the hero had a sister, and I was kind of like, I said, I don't plan. So, what should the sister be? Oh, well, you know what? I would like to write a story about Lorraine. I didn't even think about that before. So I thought I'll make her an amputee. I never knew. I hoped that maybe I would write her story one day, but at that stage she was just a secondary character. So now I've forgotten the question. Did you ask me if I did research? I've forgotten.
Well, yeah. So did you, how did you approach it from a sensitivity point of view? Did you, engage in some sensitivity reading, that sort of thing?
Yes, because obviously it's very, we hear a lot about writing diverse characters in terms of race, disability, gender, and all these things. And it's something that we're encouraged to do, but at the same time, it's scary doing it, because if you do it wrong, you can really get a lot of flack. And I think it's really important. I've got diverse characters in my books, but I don't necessarily focus on the diversity, if that makes sense. So, I've had lesbian characters, I've had gay characters, obviously disability, different races, but I haven't made a big thing about it, because I just feel like you just write what we see, kind of thing. And I feel like you should just have a cast of lots of different characters, and it does not necessarily, need to focus on that. But with Tabitha, obviously, it was part of her kind of core feelings about herself, and it was part of her backstory of, what happened to lose her arm and how it, related to a relationship. So I was in her head. I think it's different when you're writing about a character in a diverse, I don't know how to even say that, but a character that's not like you, in their point of view, it's very scary. So I did, and you want to do it right, you want to do it with empathy. I did talk a lot to my friend Lorraine. I asked her many, many questions. Things like, what things are hard for you to do? Because I've seen her do so many things amazingly that I can't even really do very well. But, she told me things like it's hard. It took a while to work out how to, hook a bra on and off. And she said basically, most of her household is just mine. But there's only I think she said one or two things, and one of them I remember that was different is that her chopping board is kind of nailed down, so it's not going to move around while she's chopping things. So little things like that, which I actually think I put that in the first book. But then I was, So Lorraine gave me lots of comments. Like I asked her, what do people say to you when they first meet you? Just how do you feel, all that kind of stuff. But she gave me lots of feedback and information. But then she went above and beyond, and when I'd finished writing the book, she read it. And so I know that, and Lorraine felt that this was very generous of her, and she felt this book is very much her experience and it's how she feels. Both of us know that that's not necessarily how every amputee feels, but I was happy that it is at least one person's experience, right, and it's correct. So,
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where it comes across as being authentic. And you say that at the end notes that, it's not a representation of every single person with a disability or an amputation, but it is a representation of how Tabitha lived her disability and her amputation, and certainly how your friend has as well. So I just really found it very touching and just so great to see that move forward of those heroines taking their step into the spotlight. But that's not all that's different about Tabitha, because she's actually pregnant throughout this novel too, which this is also my first romance with a pregnant heroine, and I am so here for it. I've got a 1-year-old, and I was like, how have I not read this before? So
really? Happy.
Yes, it's so good.
It's interesting because sorry, it's a delay, I think.
No.
I was going to say it's interesting because I know some people say they don't like reading about a pregnant heroine. That's not very sexy and that's not romantic and stuff. So it can turn people on or off, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was like, it just pulled on all the heartstrings. And so when you do write a pregnant heroine, what kind of things do you have to take into account? What's different about writing someone who's pregnant and falling in love versus someone who's not?
Well, I think obviously they're looking at their future differently because, especially with a single mum heroine, which is in a romance, usually the heroine's pregnant. Well, I guess there's two types of romance you can have. It could be the hero's baby, and you're dealing with those sort of issues. In my case, Tabitha has had a baby, decided to have a baby by herself, and I feel like that decision reflects, every decision she makes throughout the course of the book, because she knows that whatever decisions she makes are going to affect her baby in the future. So, she's thinking, I can have a last fling kind of thing. I might not then be doing this later or whatever. So there's that always, every decision she makes, if she can risk her own heart, but, she doesn't want to risk her baby's heart, so she's thinking about someone else apart from herself when she is doing, everything relating to Fergus. I guess the other thing, which I had to think about with the arm as well, so I had to remember that she only had 1.5 arms, and so occasionally I had 2 arms pop up in the first draft. Thankfully, I've got a good editor who said, better get rid of one of them. And I guess you've got to also think about, it's been a while since I wrote this book now, but things like sex scenes with the baby. She wasn't very pregnant, so that was okay. But it does it informs her tiredness. It informs the whole plot in different ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. And you also have to, I guess, curate the parts of pregnancy that you want to put in there and the other parts that you don't, but it just gave me all the feels. And adding that baby element, as you said, it just ups those stakes, and it ups the stakes for her and for him, which just worked beautifully. Did you, the other thing that, it was wonderful. The other thing I'm curious about, ice cream is a big feature of the story. Did you actually eat avocado ice cream?
Well, I have a confession to make, 2 confessions. No, I did not eat avocado ice cream. I Googled, weird, wacky ice cream flavours. So I came up with actual cheese ice cream, which apparently is not cheesecake, but it's like cheese ice cream. So that was in there, I think I mentioned. And then another one was, avocado and coconut. I love avocado. I love coconut. I'm not sure about avocado in an ice cream. Maybe it would be okay. I should try it. I should somehow, I don't know, make it or find out where you can buy it. But no, I have not tried it. And the other thing is, I'm actually not that big an ice cream fan. I'm much more of a chocolate person now, cheese. I live with, my mum lives with us. Obviously, I live with my husband. And they are both ice cream fiends. My kids love ice cream. But that's one thing that I can easily resist. So I think I kind of did the ice cream because it was set on a dairy dairy country, so it kind of went together. And also we had before I wrote Talk of the Town, which is the first one, which is dairy country as well. I had just been down south in Margaret River, and there's a few beautiful ice creameries there, as well as a number of wineries. And we'd been to one called Miller's Ice Creamery, and I remember just thinking, oh, this is cool. I'd like to put this somehow in a book. So yeah, unfortunately, not a big ice cream fan. Fraud. I'm an ice cream fraud.
You are. Well, you know what? You did actually make me curious. I'm like, avocado ice cream, avocado and coconut. Maybe. I might try to ever come across it.
Yeah, if I come across it.
Yeah, absolutely. Then you'll have to report back. Have I sufficiently distracted you? Are you managing to do any drawing?
Well, I have drawn something. I'm not sure. Okay. I thought I was really, really clever with one part, but I think it ruined the picture. So.
Okay, one last question, and then we'll throw to the audience and see if anyone can guess your drawing, guess your favourite movie. Ethan, are there any plans for Ethan to get his own book?
Oh, Ethan. So when I wrote him, possibly, but then this book I kind of gave him a girl. So I don't know. And
I was like, oh. Well,
yeah, I was always
guys.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm totally crushing on Ethan. So selfishly, anybody who's watching this or watching the replay, if you think Rachael Johns should write Ethan his own story, leave a comment so that I can read it one day, because he's just so adorable.
Well, it's funny that you I'm glad you like him, because he was a fun minor character to write. I had to do more movie research, because the first book he talks about how he loves Aussie movies and things. He's Irish larrikin. Oh, Jem says he deserves a book too. But the funny thing is, most people have been asking me for Adeline's story, and my publisher also wants Adeline's story. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe they're together.
Oh my gosh, wouldn't they be a fiery couple? I can definitely see you being able to help us get under Adeline's skin and figure out what's going on. So let's show this drawing.
I've done it once. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say I've done it once before. In Jilted and Road to Hope. In Jilted, there was a horrible character called Laura. I called her my nasty nurse, and I never planned on writing her story, but then people wanted more, so I ended up writing her story in The Road to Hope. So I redeemed a horrible character in The Road to Hope. I'm not sure I can do it again, actually.
Well, just looking at the comments here, there's lots of endorsements for Ethan, but certainly a few people are really keen to read about Adeline, so looks like there might be a few ones in there. And there's actually some endorsements behind the pairing of the two. So there
really? You go. I'll have to get my thinking cap on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see if you can hold up your picture now, and we'll get the first person to click correctly.
Can you see it? Okay, how are we going to do this? Oh, it's hang on. All right, gosh, it looks even terrible on the screen. Hang on, let me see if I can. I'll do it in stages.
Right.
Okay.
Let's do it in stages.
So the first
okay.
Is that. That's the first stage of my picture. See, I'm very talented at drawing, as you can see.
Yes.
This second stage.
Oh, I feel like I might know what this is.
You're guessing? And then...
No, I'm not guessing.
Hang on. That is another part. This is by itself, by the way. Okay. That, a bit of whatever this is. And this in the middle, this big pole thing, was where I went wrong, I think. I was trying to do a pole in fire. This is supposed to be fire, but the problem is you don't have colour. I don't have colour. Maybe I didn't even think about bringing colouring pencils. So, yeah, I've got a wine glass, if you can tell. Anyone, I guess?
Yes, look, we've had a few guesses. I'll throw them up on screen. First was Legally Blonde.
No.
Is it Legally Blonde? No? Okay. Next one, totally random. Donnie Darko. Maybe that was a bunny.
I've never heard of that movie. It's not.
Yeah, I don't think it's Donnie Darko. Okay. Okay. Yep. We've got it. I think I know what it is. First comment with this answer. Bridget
Yes,
Jones's Diary, Nola Marie Hartridge. Yay!
Yeah.
Well done, Nola. You won.
Actually, I just thought, no, that's not really my favourite movie. That's my favourite book. My favourite movie would probably be Love Actually or How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So, again, fraud.
How would you draw Love Actually?
I don't know.
Characters.
Yeah,
I think you picked a good one. Yeah. So, Nola, you've won a copy of one of Rachel's books. So if you already have something to talk about, she'll kindly let you have something from her backlist. So lucky you. I'll send you a comment after this is all wrapped up and get your details and pass them all on. So, Rachel, before we let you go, we love our writing community. A couple of questions from our writers. Just came through from Instagram. So Jem McCusker, author, wants to know, what's the hardest part about writing per male point of view, and how do you get into their heads?
Well, I'm really lucky that these days I don't kind of even really think about it. I've had some good lessons. So I've been a member of Romance Writers of Australia for a long time. I remember I went to a workshop many years back with Fiona Lowe as the teacher, and she gave some great tips about writing in the male point of view. One of them is, women, we tend to go on and we think lots, and men, they have short, sharp, succinct kind of things. But I live with 3 boys and a male, so I don't know if that helps. But the one other thing, and this is probably not very useful for anyone, being as an aspiring writer, but my first, I think about 5 or 6 rural romances probably, and my first few women's fiction books, I had a male editor. And so he kind of, obviously I wrote the first draft, but then he would come along and say, nah, that's not guy speak, he'd say, Rachel, or things like that. So he helped me a little bit. And yeah, I think it's a matter of, as with every part of writing, reading lots, so reading other authors that do it well, watching, TV shows. Not that I watch a lot of TV. I don't know, I seem to not manage to find the time, but just listening to how people talk. And it's also a thing like, yes, male and female think and talk differently, but every character should think and talk a little bit differently and have a slightly different voice anyway. So I guess it's about their personality too and getting that through. Don't know if I answered that question very well.
No, you certainly did. And it definitely seems like, getting into their head and they kind of come alive for you. And once they do, they just sort of take off. And honestly, you've written over a dozen books, so I'm sure you're getting into the swing of things by now. Like it just comes, as you said, the second nature. But that's another good tip for writers. It's just practice, isn't it?
It is definitely practice. You just got to, and I don't ever, I just started a new book actually literally today, and it feels like a new and a hard thing every time I start. And I've got the hero kind of in my head with this book, but I don't really have a grasp on the heroine. So, some stories come easier than others. So you just got to, keep persevering, not be afraid to write crap, I think, and then you can always edit it.
That is such good advice. And you know what? Personally, very reassuring knowing that sometimes you still find it hard to read.
All the time. I find it all the time. And I'm so much doubt, and I, doubt my plots or doubt my characters and stuff. Luckily, I do it as a full-time job now. It pays my bills, so I have to do it. Otherwise, I think I'd probably just spend, all day staring at a screen saying, I can't do this, I can't do this. But, I have to try. So I'm learning that, just get the words down, and usually they're not as bad as you think. They're usually somehow salvageable. So although saying that, I don't think, like, sometimes I do have to stop, take a step back, go, look, it's just not working. Like with Tabitha and Fergus, there was a time in that book, I told you earlier, that I wanted it to be a fake relationship story.
Yes.
So I was writing towards him not proposing, but him proposing a fake relationship and saying, look, and then I got towards that stage and I stalled because I was like, no, I don't think she would accept this. Like, this is not her character. And I'm like, but that's not good. I've written half a book that is leading to this point. So and I had to work my way. So then I think I did step back, for a day or so and just, think about it a lot and read other stuff. So sometimes sometimes you have to keep going and other times you have to take a step back. Knowing when that is, it's hard.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I remember that point where she's talking about Ryder and I thought, oh, that's good. That's the way this is going to go. And then when she has that moment, I was like, yes, that. And I just thought, oh, that's so that. And you're right, that was so Tabitha. So
yeah, I
like that's
it. But I had to write the offer. That was where I was going.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, that's what we love about your books. Your characters feel true to themselves and true to people, real life people. So one final question, Caroline Ann Ryder asks, what if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to your younger writer self? So I know I was reading that you started writing to get over a breakup at around 17. So what would you go back and tell that 17-year-old, you know, years later about your writing career and give, what advice would you give her?
Well, I think I would tell that 17-year-old two things. And the first is don't go to uni and study writing because that's what I did. And I'm sure it's changed a lot. I think there's better writing degrees now. But this was almost 23 years ago, I think, when I started writing and decided to do a writing degree. I decided to change to a writing degree from what I was doing, which is primary school teaching. And I learned absolutely nothing that has helped me about writing, because the problem with the writing degrees, they all wanted you at that time, and I said that there might be better ones out there now, they wanted you to write the Booker Prize or a Pulitzer Prize winner, very much literary fiction or poetry, rather than what I wanted to read, which was something like Bridget Jones' Diary, because I was enjoying books like Bridget Jones' Diary, books by Lisa Jewell, Marianne Keyes, books that were definitely called chick lit at the time. But I didn't think, you know, that I could, not that I could admit to it, but I just never even thought about writing that, because that was not what I was being told that I should be writing. So I would tell my 17-year-old self, don't go to uni. Do go to uni, possibly. Don't do a writing degree. Finish your teaching degree so you can get a job and, you know, put money on the table and enjoy your writing. You know, don't try and make it pay straight away. Enjoy, learn, read, have fun, and try and write a book that you want to read rather than the book you think you should be writing. I think it took me a long time to get there. There's lots of other reasons why it took me a long time to get published. But one of them was that I was trying to write what I thought I should be writing rather than the kind of stories that I love to read. So I would really like, there's the advice out there often, you know, write what you know. I don't think you need to write what you know, especially in the era of Google. I mean, we can look up a lot of stuff. Right.
That's true.
But I would definitely say write what you love, write what you want to know. That's another one. So go between those two. Make sure you're, you know, if you're not enjoying it, then nobody else is going to enjoy it either. And that's something I lost almost for a couple of years, probably about a year or so ago. Like, life was pretty stressful, and because I do this for a job, it was like, oh, I have to write this book, and I so can't be bothered. Not that I can't be bothered, I'm just not feeling it. And I've really worked hard in the last couple of years to sort of find the love again. So that's what I would say. You know, there's no point doing this if you don't like what you're doing, because surely there's other ways to earn a living. So make sure that you do what you love. That's what I would say. Yeah,
that is such good advice. And what's up next for you? So what can readers expect next on the Rachael Johns publishing schedule?
Well, I have a women's fiction. I'm using that title word out in November. It's called Here's the Advanced Reading Copy, Flying the Nest.
Ooh,
I love this cover. I know, I'm just obsessed with it.
Nice.
Hopefully what's between the pages is, you know, as good as the cover. But it is actually it's actually more, it's kind of very firmly between rural romance and women's fiction, because there is a very strong rural element and it's quite big romantic elements in this book too. So that's what's next for me.
So that's a pretty good follow-on from something to talk about then, if you're looking for something to read like me, because you've got stuck now. Yeah, absolutely. And where can readers find you? I know you have a thriving online Facebook community.
Sure, I'm definitely on Facebook. I've got a Facebook page. I think it's just Rachael Johns Author. Should I look up here? No, actually, I think it's Rachael Johns Romance, because author was somehow taken. Someone else took it years ago. So it was Rachael Johns Romance. I'm on Facebook. I'm also under Rachael Johns, I think, Romance on Instagram, so I hang out both those places. If anyone wants to join my online book club, I also have an online book club on Facebook called Rachael Johns Online Book Club, which I do with Anthea Hodgson. And we've got an admin who is a book reviewer on there who's very wonderful, Bree from One Girl, Too Many Books. And that's just a really great community where you can talk all sorts of books and have a discussion once a month. So I love the more the merrier.
Yeah, it is an awesome, awesome online book club. Thank you so much for joining us. Next week, guys, we get to chat to Kelly Rimmer, so I'm super excited about that too. But Rachael, thanks for joining in, guys. If you want to just hit like and subscribe to all the feeds and all the channels to keep updated with what's happening for the next sort of author quick draws. I hope you have a great night, Rachael. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you, and thank you that I got to go first.
You are so you get the time because they're bravest author.
Well, also because then nobody can know, like, I won't be compared. It'll be like, I'm sure everyone's getting better at drawing than me, but I hope they'll forget my terrible scribbles.
Not at all. Thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you.
It's about time for that cup now, don't you think? Thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys. I hope you had as much nerdy fun as I did chatting to some of our absolute favourite best-selling authors. You will never believe the people I have lined up for us in the next couple of weeks. So to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the fun or really any of the giveaways, be sure that you've liked and subscribed to my YouTube channel, Annie Bucknell, or like me on Facebook where we go live at 7:30 every Thursday night. You can also find me on Instagram at annie.bucknell where I share more of my daily life and my daily battle trying to write a novel and file freelance feature articles with a toddler in tow. It's good fun. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.